Hello and welcome to another episode of the Inside Athletic podcast. I'm your host, Logan Back, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Ricki Lord. Ricki, I don't think we were expecting to record this week, but under special circumstances, we're here again.
Emergency podcast. I've always wanted to say that, Logan. Back off the back of unbelievable result on Saturday. Obviously, we caught up last week. We were doing a bit of a preview ahead of the Hibs game, and I'll be honest, I wasn't that confident. I think you were a bit more confident than I was, but my judgment was misplaced because I thought we looked incredible, especially sort of against a Premiership side. And we thought we better get back together and talk about the game and get a few fans on as well, just to reminisce about a great afternoon at KDM Group East End Park.
As you mentioned, we've got two Dunfermline Athletic supporters joining us this evening. First of all, we've got Jake Ferguson. Jake, how has the last few days been for you?
Hello, Logan. Hello, Ricki. Hello, Colin. Yeah, it's been good. I think there's something quite special about it, isn't it? When we've been on the TV game and we've won, and there's a right big feeling about it, and that you're going through social media and there's endless clips of this, that, and the next thing, and you can't help but just sit and watch it. It's kind of similar to when Scotland played Denmark, obviously, and you were watching the goals for days. I know this goal wasn't very good, but what it meant was all you needed really. I think that the clip of the limbs I've watched probably about 1,000 times, and yeah, it's been really good. Just been able to kind of watch that and hear even fans of other clubs talking about us and in a positive way. So yeah, been good, Nate. Thank you.
And we're also joined by Colin Steer. Colin, thank you for joining us. What's the last few days been like for you?
Kind of the same as what Jake was saying. I think I've probably exhausted the amount of times I can watch one bizarre goal as many times as I had. And the comparison Jake made with watching the Scotland goals, it's very similar. I think I've watched every angle of the celebrations when our goal went in on Saturday. And it seems to bring up the same emotions every time I watch it. I actually got a bit emotional on Saturday night watching it again and seeing how much it meant to everybody. The chat as we left the ground was probably more positive than I've probably experienced in a long time, coupled with genuine excitement that we had shown on national TV what we're capable of, the support we have, the passion, the way we can play football. Having Neil as our boss, I think it was great exposure for us, and I think it hopefully it's going to be a great catapult for the rest of the season.
Time. I mean, I think we've kind of been threatening a performance like that over this season. I think we're all really conscious of what the squad's capable of, and we know we've got a really young squad, and sometimes it doesn't always work out the way we want it to. But you can see some of the build-up play, and I even referenced that on the last episode of the goal against Race Rovers, how we kind of built from the back, and we yeah, it was great to kind of see it paying off, and it kind of felt like, yeah, this is what we've been expecting from this side. A really, really good result, and don't get me wrong, loads of chances for Hibs, and we'll come on to, I'm sure, Dennis later on, put in a great performance and some really important saves, but I don't think we can say that we weren't worthy of the win.
Not at all.
And they all
Jake, I'll come
count.
to you.
I'm quite happy to watch the goals back. It doesn't need to be an overhead kick or for a halfway line. They all
Aye,
count.
yeah, aye. That's it.
Jake, I'll come to you first. What was your reaction to the draw initially?
So the draw initially was it's exciting, isn't it? I think when at that particular round of the cup, so many teams are in it. So that's where you see the bigger teams come in it. You still got a lot of smaller clubs in it as well, and it's genuine excitement of who you might get. So Hibs East End Park's a big fixture, but naturally you kind of look at it and go, that's a tough ask, isn't it? Like that's going to be tough to try and get through this round. But you know, you just never know in cup football, and I think that's exactly what happened on Saturday. But yeah, pleased with the draw. But I remember looking straight away and thinking, oh, Hibs haven't been doing that good this season. Actually, it might be okay. And then when I looked at it, Hibs had Hibs had only lost to the current top four in the Premiership this season and European teams. That was it. So no one outside of the current top four in Scotland have beat Hibs this season. And I was kind of like, that's
And
when you
then,
do
of
it like
course, they
that.
just beat Hearts as well.
Well,
So
that's it, mate. Yeah, on the 27th of December. So, and that was obviously before we played Wraith. We were through in Kirkcaldy. I watched it in the pub through there, and but like, yeah, they were 3-0 up. I know they were hanging on a wee bit at the end, but it's it looked like a really big ask, to be honest. And I mean, you're reading, and even in the build up last week, they're talking about Bowie going for 6.5 million and stuff like that, and you're thinking, Wow, yeah, yeah. And then you're worrying, is this going to be the one where he's on the telly and he puts in a 6.5 million type performance, but it's about a 6.5 pence performance, I think, to be honest with you.
What about yourself, Colin? Kind of when the draw was made, our name came out of the hat. I think you've got to be excited with a home draw against anyone, I suppose.
Yeah, I think historically as well, going back to, the 80s and the 90s when we played Hibs quite regularly, you knew that there was going to be a big travelling support. So when Hibs came out, I kind of thought we actually might have got Hearts. I don't know why I thought that, but I expected us to get Hearts. But getting Hibs was equally as exciting. The fact that they're going to bring a big contingent. When I spoke to Hearts fans, Hibs fans that I knew that were all excited about coming through, I think they thought it was a bit of a buy though. I got that impression there wasn't any of them that thought it was a potential banana skin as much as what I kind of had a sneaky feeling. I thought that, like what we said before, I think we were due a performance like that. And in the games we've played this season where it's been an important match against the team where we think we're possibly going to get beat, our performances have been better.
Yeah.
The performances in games that we thought, okay, there's a good chance of 3 points today, sometimes have been the ones where we've been leaving East End Park or their ground a wee bit disappointed of the score and sometimes the performance. So I think it seemed that all the stars aligned for the fact that Hibs had come off the back of a good result. We had come off the back of a good result, albeit it was a few weeks ago. But I just had a feeling that a full house, TV cameras there, kind of hoping we wouldn't let ourselves down, but had just an inkling of a feeling that something was possible.
You're much more optimistic than I am, Colin. I was thinking big crowd on the telly. How many times have we seen this before that we
Aye.
fall down? But it was great, and it was obviously great. I was a little bit nervous, I must admit, when we got pulled out as the TV pick, that it might
Yeah,
affect the crowd. But if anything, it seemed to bolster it. The fact that it was on the telly created a real buzz about the stadium, and it was great to see the old girl full, and hopefully a lot of those fans sort of come back to see more action over the next few weeks. But when you look at the actual team lineup, I think Neil Lennon referenced it in his post-match, sort of Hibs making 3 changes. I don't know your guys' sort of pre-match routines. Have you clocked the Hibs lineup and what your thoughts were when you first saw it, Jake? Had you managed to get a chance to look at it?
Well, funnily enough, I wasn't actually supposed to be going to the game when it was first drawn because I'm doing groomsmen at a wedding in July and we're getting fitted for tuxies, and it was that particular morning that we were doing it. Ironically, we were going to Edinburgh to go and do it. And just by chance, because the trains were off, the groom to be was like, "Look, we'll can it. We'll do it at the start of February." So brilliant. So it was only about 2 weeks before that I realised I could go to the game. So it was kind of weird when I was also then working on Saturday morning. So it wasn't like I was trying to go to the pub or get a quick pint before I go anywhere. I literally finished work at like 11:30, went to mum and dad's and walked to the game with my dad. So I hadn't actually seen the Hibs team until we were walking up. My dad was kind of mentioning something. I had a wee quick look at my phone. One of the things that stood out for me was that Joe Newell was playing for Hibs. I don't really know an awful lot about Joe Newell, I'll be totally honest. I know he's been injured for a while, but there's a few Hibs fans I work with who say that he slows them down. He's club captain, but when he plays for them, he slows them down, and they think he's more of a hindrance than a benefit. So when I seen that, I was kind of thinking that could work in our favour here. But at the same time, you're thinking he's probably a quality player, and he's probably gonna do well here today, isn't he? But yeah, I didn't. The first thing you're looking for are guys like Bowie playing. You know, how strong are they going? What are they doing? And one thing that really stood out for me was the bench. Hibs bench was strong. You're looking at, I know Boyle's been out for a couple of weeks. You know what he can do, and you're looking at that. Boyle, Cadden was back as well. I think Nicky Cadden is a really good player. So you're looking at that. I'd heard they were injury doubts, and you're thinking, wow. There's it's a strong squad. Even guys like Rocky Bushiri at the back. He was getting a lot of plaudits last year in the Premier League, and I think I'm not sure if he's been injured or what's been going on, but I haven't heard his name mentioned a bit late. But yeah, you're looking at the squad and thinking they're not taking this lightly, to be honest.
And obviously, Colin, one main bit of our starting lineup was the inclusion of Ollie Thomas, who started up front with Zach Rudden. What did you make of his performance and his sort of profile?
Certainly, when we initially signed him, I went online. I actually didn't know very much about him. In fact, I didn't know anything about him. So I went online to read a bit about him, and there were some clips, and then obviously the club posted a montage of some of his performances, and he's certainly looked decent, but I know that's never an accurate indicator as to what you're going to get. I actually thought he played very well, despite not having a lot of the ball. He made his presence known. I think his pressing was good, running off the ball as best he could. It's kind of sometimes quite hard to do what to watch exactly what he's doing when you're following the ball. But I was always aware that he was moving. He was certainly quite aggressive as well, which is what we want to see from a forward. And I thought, all in all, it was a pretty promising start and something that hopefully he can build on. And the crowd were certainly positive towards him when he came off as well. So I think it was a pretty decent start by him, but I liked how strong he looked, and I certainly think he's going to pose a threat for us.
There was a couple of times he just got the better of his man just by his sheer sort of presence and
Yeah.
power. So
Yeah.
I completely agree, Colin. I thought he was a really impressive debut, and looking forward to seeing more of Ollie over the next few weeks. Onto the game itself, then. I think we kind of touched on it there. Hibs had a lot of the ball, and I think we expected that. But a couple of early corners. I'll not share what I was saying when that first shot corner
First
went
one.
in. I thought that might have been our only chance, but Matty redeemed himself later on. But yeah, I guess the kind of first real talking point of the full game was the Bowie chance just before half time. And I don't know about you guys, but when he kind of went through 1-on-1, you kind of thought this has got to be a goal.
Yeah.
But Jake, talk me through your emotions there when you saw him breaking through.
Well, I have to be completely honest, and this just goes to show what I know, but I'm immediately looking at the linesman and looking for an offside, not realising, because it happened so quick, that the guy was in his own half. Do you know, I'm not realising that. But yeah, initially, you're thinking, I've seen this film before. Like, Dennis can be all right in those situations, but I'm panicking here. He's, Bowie, if he is worth 6.5 million, then he's going to be scoring this goal. But do you know what? Dennis came out, made himself big, and it was a great save with his legs, really good. And I think probably a situation like that, it gives you belief. And is it belief? Is it maybe just a bit of luck? I don't know. But I think for the rest of the team, if you see a situation like that, you go, something could be happening here. And it can't have been too far before half time. I don't think it was a million miles before it. So if they'd gone up, scored at that situation, it's a horrible time to concede a goal. So what happens? It changes the team talk, and it means we have to come out with more. Hibs have got dangerous players can catch you on the break. So I think, yeah, emotions as he was going through and goal were panicking, but real pride when he went and pulled off the save. Yeah, I've got to be honest.
It was the first of several saves for Dennis in that game. That was probably the biggest of the match. But going into the second half, Dennis obviously made some crucial saves and crucial moments as well. Cleege's header in the second half was a big talking point. Um, Obviously Dennis has been back in the team for the last few weeks, Colin. Just how happy are you to see Dennis back in form and back in the team?
Well, I think there's quite a good point about Saturday as well. It wasn't just his saves. I think there was more to his game than that on Saturday, and he showed that. I thought
Yeah.
his distribution was well. Um, was extremely good. I thought he did well when he came to also calming down the defenders. I saw a lot of talking, a lot of organising. There was a lot of times where it looked like we were going to pass out from the back, and he made a good decision either to kick it up, or occasionally we did pass out from the back, but not very often. I thought his whole presence being there, probably more as the game went on, probably after the Bowie save, I think gave not just supporters, but also the players in the park probably a bit of belief too. I thought his handling at the few corners they got was excellent too. And I'm pretty happy he's back. I wasn't completely disappointed with the goalkeepers we had prior to him, but I think he's proven certainly in the last 2 or 3 games that he's our number one keeper. And I know people would argue with me about that, but I've always had a soft spot for him. I thought he did very well in past seasons too. His shot stopping is second to none. He went through a spell where dealing with crosses became a bit hairy for us. But again, I think the fans sometimes are too quick to get on his back and no look at the other factors for that. It wasn't just him. So no, I'm pretty happy, and long may he continue, not just as our goalkeeper, but in the form he was in on Saturday.
think his experience is so key as well, Colin.
Yeah.
When you look at the sort of the average age of that defensive lineup,
Aye.
especially on Saturday and throughout the season, we maybe need, whether that's a Benny at the back or a Dennis in goal, just one older head in that back line, just to keep things, as you said, ticking over in terms of organisation, calming things down when it needs to be calmed down. And I thought that was a really good example of that on Saturday. We really impressive performance by Dennis.
It's nice to look at Dennis in that kind of experienced, like vocal kind of person. Obviously, age-wise, yes, but there has been a lot of times, as Colin kind of said, that the fans are quite quick to get in his back, and you could tell that affected the confidence and things like that. But it's nice to see him having some confidence and being able to then cheer up his teammates as a kind of an elder player in the team and someone who's got experience. But again, and as Colin said, like, see, coming for crosses, he was so calm. There was just certain moments in that second half where the fans were biting their nails, and this is before we'd even scored. Like, this is when it was still 0-0. And he's coming for crosses like they're nothing, just simple, taking them out the sky, and that's it. And even the chances they had, I think the one, what was it, Junior Hoylett's, the volley had, it's a great save, but where it position, where it kind of went, you don't get me wrong. I think because it was near post, I think you probably expect him to kind of to get something on it anyway. So he did make it look easy, but I think you'd expect, you wouldn't want him to get beat for there kind of thing, unless it was maybe going far corner. It's a bit different. But yeah, he was calm, and I've got to be honest. I walked out and said to my dad, I was like, look, I think Dennis was man of the match today. I thought, he's made 2 or 3 really good saves. He's had a really solid game, kept the clean sheet against really good opposition. But as we've seen, Jerry got it, but anyone could have got it, especially in that back sort of 5. They were all really good. So
I agree.
I think one thing that I noticed in the game, towards the end, obviously when it was still 0-0, Dennis was coming to claim crosses, and he was holding on to the ball for a good 10, 15 seconds, and
I
the
know
referee's counting down 3. And I released 3, 2, 1, and I'm like, release the ball, and he just wasn't releasing the ball.
he was cutting it fine quite a few times, to be honest. He really
Aye.
was. But that's it. It's a funny one that I feel for years. I sit in the North East End, kind of behind the goals bit, about the second row for the back, and you'll see it if we're losing. The opposition keeper standing in front of you in the North End, time wasting, and it's so frustrating to watch. And I feel like we've never really had a goalie that's done that for a while. But you do see Dennis doing it whenever we're in a position where we're winning the game. Don't get me wrong, I've seen Billy Terrell's done it as well. But Dennis can do it, and he knows he's kind of playing up to the opposition fans that are behind him if he's doing it. So yeah, he's crafty as well. He's got that in the locker.
That's what you want, a bit of a panto villain.
Aye,
That's
yeah.
exactly it.
That's it.
Back to the game itself, I think first half, manager said that he thought we could have done better, and I thought we did pretty well first half. But second half, we came out sort of really scrapping. We took the game to him, certainly that first sort of 15, 20 minutes, and we looked really like on the front foot. I think the manager said he told the players just to try and believe themselves a bit more, and that certainly sort of played out in the first few minutes of that second half. And I don't know about you guys, but I kind of felt like, right, we're coming out fighting here. We know we've got a chance. What were your sort of thoughts on the second half performance as a whole?
I thought the first few minutes of the second half actually set the tone for the remainder of the half. Just I've sat in the same seat for a lot of years, and we'll all chat about the game as we go along. And the general feeling as we were chatting while the game was going on was, we've got a chance here. There's a chance we're going to win this. There's a chance we're at least going to take it into extra time. We're not going to lose a goal. That was the general feeling, and that was set. I think maybe it's hard to remember exact time, but probably about the first 10, 15 minutes, I felt that the attitude and the sort of emotion for the people around me, you could just tell there was a bit more belief by the way people were punching the air more, shouting more encouragement, and there was a bit more belief that we were going to get something from the game. As the game went on, I actually thought we even got better than in that first 15, the first 15 minutes of the half. I thought some of our passing was very controlled. We showed what it is we can do. We've shown it in spells during this season, but not maybe just quite to the the degree we did in that game for long periods, and then the calmness without the ball. I never saw us panic particularly much, particularly, we've already spoken about, the back line. I couldn't believe how good they were.
I
That
didn't
was
feel threatened really either. I think there was maybe
Premier
a wee
League
spell, 70
defensive
odd
performance.
minutes. There was
Yeah,
a bit where you're like, they're coming into it a bit. But
yeah.
other than that sort of 10-minute spell, we looked really comfortable.
Mhm.
Absolutely holding our own, and it was a bit of a back and forward for the rest of that half. But
Mhm.
yeah, I thought we were absolutely outstanding in that second half. I thought we were great. We got a few substitutions. We got a look at our new signing, Callum Morrison, coming on as well. Jake, how do you think he affected the game?
Um, Initially, I'm pleased to see a player of his kind of level come in. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff behind it. There's a lot of baggage, isn't there? But if we take away that, there's no doubt that we all know what he can do and what he can bring to the club. So I didn't know if he'd actually make the squad or not. Again, having him on the bench, I thought, well, initially I kind of thought, well, he might not be kind of up to speed, but he's been playing, so it shouldn't be an issue. But I thought when he came on, he actually looked lively. I work with a Falkirk fan who he seemed to think, if we can get the guy that they had before, but when he was sort of League One, start of that Championship season, then we could get a good one. But there was a lot of Falkirk fans online talking about, potentially he's lost a yard of pace and things like that. Definitely, from what we seen on Saturday, that's not the case. And he had that good moment when it got played over. I think it was a throw-in actually. It got played down the line, and he's beat Rocky Bashiri for pace, who's he's no slouch, and he cuts inside, and it's quite a tame shot in the end, but it was a chance, and it just kind of gave them something else to think about because we don't have that much pace up front, and it's a bit of a different dynamic, and all of a sudden they're going, oh, so they can do this now as well. We've got a bit extra. Other than that, I mean, there's a couple of just wee neat moments on the ball. He didn't have a lot of like clear cut chances other than the one I discussed. Obviously, when he got booked, there was a wee moment in my mind where I thought his foot looked a wee bit high there, if I'm being totally honest. And it just kind of the way it happened, it was very fast, and I was a wee bit concerned. But to be honest, if there was VAR, I don't think he would have got sent off. But there was a wee moment in my mind when the ref first ran over and went to the pocket. I thought,
Oh, no.
what a start! This has got Wanyama written all over it, hasn't it? So, but yeah, I thought he was fine, and I think even then, towards the end, even like those last few minutes after we went ahead, there was some moments where he took the ball towards the corner and was just killing time, showing his experience, and doing that, and it was absolutely fine. So yeah, I thought he was fine. I think he will win the fans over quite quickly, and I think that I think he'll be a good player and improve his worth. I think, yep.
Jake used one of my favourite terms there, Ricky. I don't know if you noticed, but a
wee
wee
bit
bit
high.
high with the
Yeah.
tackle. Colin, obviously, we'll move on to the best part of the match, the goal. Just before it, Kieran Guenya has a chance from Matty Todd's corner. The keeper tips it over the bar. Were you thinking, oh, that's that, or did you have a bit of belief from the next corner?
No, I thought that's that. I think a couple of us were saying, oh, that's extra time. Immediately after that shot and save, I thought that was the moment. It was another good cross in by Matty, which I thought he had a few, apart from obviously the first corner that was spoke about in the first half, which I had my head in my hands. But after that, I thought his delivery was pretty good. Then when we get the next corner, obviously there's still a bit of excitement because we're all thinking one last chance. And I'll be honest, initially, although I stood up and roared, I didn't actually know that it was in straight away. And I was more reacting to the people around me more than what I'd seen because I couldn't see. But then the scenes, despite the fact that I sit with the old boys in the main stand, you would think that we were all 30 years younger. We were complaining about our aches and pains every week. I'm telling you, I think we're all geysers because we were jumping about like the boys in the Northwest.
You didn't drop your prawn sandwich, Colin, when you're jumping up.
No,
I say that as an old,
it's in
a
the
main
ground
stand
with my
patron
age.
myself. No, and it was
But
great.
yeah, I thought the scenes were fantastic. And from where I sit, I could see where the players had ran to and the scenes down there. But obviously, when you see it back, yeah, I wasn't actually even too sure the ball had crossed the line. But then when I saw the reactions from everybody in the Northwest and behind the stand and then all of them around us, I actually can't remember much about the few seconds after that because it was sheer delight. You know, I've been going to the football with the same guy for 45 years, and you think some expressions of joy at the football will never be surpassed. And then that goal went in, and you find yourself going back to when I was 15, 14, jumping about like a dafty with my old pals there. And it was, yeah, I'm quite sure that when I look back in a few years' time, it'll be one of the games in the moment I remember very fondly, and it'll stick in my mind when that goal went in, and then obviously the final whistle, which was the amount of joy that was unleashed in the stand around us was phenomenal. I think if you could have charged that, you would have made a fortune because it was brilliant.
We're all sitting here with big smiles on our faces just listening to you relive that, Colin. I'm sure everyone else that's
Oh,
listening to that as
fantastic.
well is. It was a brilliant moment. I think that's a moment that we've maybe been waiting for and starved of at East End Park for quite a long time. I think the last time that we've sort of had, a big full crowd at East End and a celebration like that was the Falkirk game a few years ago, but either the 3-3 game last season, which was, again, it was a draw, or the league winning season in League One, where it was that kind of not officially a title decider, but as good as. But for me, Saturday eclipsed that all just with the fact that it was on the telly and the stuff you spoke about earlier, Jake, with the social media stuff afterwards and people who aren't necessarily football fans or Dunfermline fans sort of talking about it. Really kind of pushed it on to the next level for me. So absolutely
Yeah,
one for the memories.
I know
yeah,
obviously over 10,000 fans at KDM Group East End Park as well. I think it was just under 5,000 away supporters. So, Jake, we'll come to you. There's been some big crowds over the years at KDM Group East End Park, but that was certainly one of the biggest and one to remember as well.
yeah, 100%. I think we've kind of mentioned it at the start of the podcast, but I think we're a bit concerned about what the crowd could be, given that we were on the telly. It was a Saturday early kick-off. And even just the fact that, a lot of people might have went, oh, I might get a doing here today, so I'll just watch on the TV and stuff. But I was really, the Hibs end sold out rapid, and then obviously they've had more allocation again, sold it really quickly. So it was nice to see the fact that our fans were able to match that and more, and provide a really 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 good atmosphere on Saturday. But yeah, it's great to see East End packed like that. It really is, because when the stadium's packed like that, it is a really great venue. Do you know what I mean? It really is. And when me and my dad were walking away, and like the kind of adrenaline that was pumping through me was like, we can go to, there's been games probably in the last couple of months where it's not been a great game, it's not been that exciting, and you might have won the game, but you kind of go away going, oh well, that was fine today. But that was like, it was like an injection of adrenaline just straight to the heart. Like, you know what I mean, it was mad. I suppose kind of similar, almost. I know it's not the same magnitude, but when we drew St Johnstone back in November when Andy Todd scored late on to equalise. That had a really big feeling to it, and it was just an equaliser, but it felt big in it. But Saturday was amazing, and it kind of reminds me of the 2007 Cup run when we beat Hearts again. I think it was a stoppage time goal or a 90th
Scott
minute
Wilson,
goal.
yeah.
Scott Wilson, yeah, and another set piece. And again, from memory, I was sitting in what was the old cage at that game. And I know that Hearts fans were definitely in the northeast. I don't know if they were in the main stand as well, but definitely were in the northeast and the east stand. And it was just mad. Like, it was just a great celebration. So yeah, the Saturday will live long in the memory. And for me personally, I just hope that we can maybe do something ticket wise with the prices for the tickets and try and get East End full for the next game with Kelty.
And on that, sort of looking at the draw, I know I was certainly tuned to the draw on Sunday. I think we all were expecting or hoping for, I guess, just any home tie again. But Colin, what's your thoughts on Kelty Hearts at home? We'd like to think it's a winnable tie, I think, but what's your thoughts?
Yeah, before the draw, I was like you, I was hoping for a home tie. I kind of was hoping for somebody quite big again, to be honest with you. But when it came out, then there's that initial feeling thinking, oh yes, great chance of getting through. And then within probably 2 or 3 minutes, you've then got the self-doubt thinking, God, that'll be typical us, we'll beat Hibs and then get knocked out by Kelty. But but I do think that hopefully we've created a bit of momentum, not just playing wise, but also for the fact to get fans back coming. Hopefully, the club will do something to do with ticket pricing, and we'll get it at a attractive price, to get more people coming who might not have come if they hadn't been at Hibs. So, we might get a bit of the flotsam and jetsam that occasionally come to the bigger games or come to Kelly game, but it's definitely winnable. If you look at the way they've been playing this season, and I keep an eye on them because I've got a little bit of soft spot for them because they're another, Fife team, but I do think we're more than capable progressing to the next round. That home tie, team for lower league, a team that's not doing particularly well in that league, not scoring goals. And I've said all that, and you're probably going to bookmark this because destined for us now to get knocked
Yeah, away win. No, I think if we play like we did on Saturday, then we'll have a very good chance. So, yeah, let's not jinx anything, but absolutely a fair chance of making it through to the next round, and then again see where we go from there.
I think when I was watching the draw, I don't know about yous, but it was at home, and then Rangers and Celtic were still in the draw.
Yeah,
And I was
Yes.
thinking we're going to get one of them at East End Park here, and it's going to be more of the same. But
yeah.
Kelty still a massive game and a chance to progress to the quarterfinals. Obviously, Jake. Scottish Cup memories. There's been quite a few over the years. Certainly, we've not won it in over 60 years, but there's certainly been some good days. Jake, any ones that would stand out for you? Out with the Hibs game, obviously.
Out with the Hibs game, obviously I mentioned that Hearts game, didn't I, from 2007, which was pretty cool. It was a good game, but for me, just going back to, I would have been probably about 13. So your love for football and the Pars at that time, it's just everything. It's all you're really interested in. That's how old I would have been when it was the 2004, the cup run to that in that particular season. And I was at all the games. And I look back on the away game against Partick Thistle, which was 3-0, 3-1, I can't remember.
3-0.
And it was just like we took a really big crowd, and like it was a comfortable win, and it was just like that when that game finished. That's it. We knew we were going to hand them, which was something I'd never experienced as a Pars fan. So probably kind of that for me is something that really sticks out in my memory. That particular run, was great. And as I said, you're 13. It's just there's no better feeling really, is it?
Colin, what about yourself? Any memorable ties that stick out? The magic of the cup.
Yeah, I think sadly we've been starved of a lot of cup success, particularly over the last few years. When I speak to my dad, who went to all the games in the 50s and the 60s, and who started to take, meet East End Park in the 70s, most of the stories were about cup games. And then I don't really have as many stories to share with younger Pars fans about great cup days, but certainly going to Hampden with Dunfermline will stick in my mind for the rest of my life. Just the whole occasion, the fact that you see so many people turning up, it's, the build up to the game, everybody mulling about, you see the buses come in, they're all decked out, everybody's got a great feeling of positivity. And it's, for me, it's more the occasion than the results, just basically because obviously the last time we won the cup was even before I was born, and I'm old. And it just seems that we're probably due a little bit of run in the cup. And for the last few years, it's been a little bit of topic of conversation when you speak to other Pars fans at the start of the Scottish Cup or the League Cup that, we're due a run. And it's never come to fruition. So it's nice to see that not only have we got ourselves in a good position to go a bit further forward, but to take a scalp and to do it in such a way that there's a lot of media interest, I think gets everybody involved, and kind of a lot more emphasis put on our tie in the next round because of who we knocked out. And I think a lot more people will probably be watching that, and that can only be good for the club. And as what, like what I said earlier, the fact that we were on national TV, a lot of people watched. I spoke to people who don't generally watch football, for example, my mum, who watched it and got a bit carried away at the end. And so it's quite good that, that we've got this to, again, just get a better feeling around the town, and a cup run always does that, and particularly when you take a scalp.
So your mum's the lucky charm, Colin. She'll need to get a season ticket, get along every week.
Oh God, no, please stop.
I think I agree with what you're saying there, Colin, about a cup run. Like, I'm too young to even remember the 2007 cup final. So in terms of cup runs, we've not really had one since I've been watching the Pars, and it's been almost 18 years over 18 years since that day. And I think the chance to get to even a quarter final is a good achievement for us. If we get a good draw in the quarter final, another home tie possibly. I know I don't want to talk too far, but you're got and Ricky, you're smiling there, but it's a chance to go to Hampden and a chance for a whole generation really to to have that sort of feeling.
Between the four of us, we've now got us winning the Scottish Cup. So that's you heard it here first. It's happening.
Well, I think what I was saying the other run, I work with a Falkirk fan, and as I came into the office logged on Monday morning, I'd received a Teams message from him already saying we're destined to meet each other in the cup this season on some sort of big occasion, and I was kind of like, aye, I think we are. And yeah, I don't know. I'd probably I'd try if we get through. I think Falkirk will beat Steny as well. If we can avoid each other and we can maybe get a favourable draw, I could see us being a semi-final or something, which would be great, wouldn't it? But obviously they're doing really well this season as well, aren't they? So it's do you want to experience that or not?
That's the draw. That's our draw. I did not want.
I've seen that before. Obviously, I can't remember what year it was when we drew them in the semi last time.
I think
2009. Aye, I think that rings a bell, Ricky. So,
something like that.
Obviously, a similar situation. As far as I'm aware, we were Championship, they were Premier League when that happened the last time. But you know, who knows? You know, it's as I said. Would you say we were going to beat Hibs on Saturday before the game? No, but look at what happened. So it's just glad to be in the draw, aren't we, for the next round? And you know, we can't dismiss Kelty at all. But you know, when I was looking at the teams that were in the draw, there was probably one or two in front of Kelty that you would have taken and said, like, you know, for example, Elgin. You might have said, we'll take Elgin at East End or whatever. But given league position, Kelty being bottom of League One at home, you're going to say it's a great draw. It's a great chance for us to progress. And hopefully, if we do get through, we can be fortunate again in the next round.
If we move away from the Cup for a moment, Colin, just sort of a general thought on the season so far. I think I've described it previously as a bit of a roller coaster, sort of struggling to get momentum, but interested to hear your thoughts on how this team's performed.
Yeah, I would echo what you're saying. It's been exciting from the point of view, obviously, who our manager is. I would never have believed going back a few years ago that we would have a manager of the calibre of Neil Lennon. And I also think as well that the way that he comes across, particularly in the close season after taking over and then the start of the new season, has been really positive. It's a more honest opinion he gives. I think that helps with the new owners too, but I think he's made us all a bit more realistic, but in the same way we've all bought into what they're trying to do. When you see the team and you look on the park and you've got young boys who you know that are genuine Dunfermline fans playing for the club, and you see what it means to them, I think people forget that it's what it means to the fans as well. I worked with Andy's dad in the police because when he retired from football, he joined Fife Constabulary, and I knew him. And working with a guy who you've watched pull on the black and white shirt it's quite the thing. You've got to watch that you didn't venture into sort of fandom when you're with him. So to see then his sons playing and knowing that they were brought up around Dunfermline, and the same with Chris and the same with Matty, I think that that's been highlighted a bit by the club, and I think that's quite important. Also, our signing policy has been obviously to identify young players and try and bring them on. And for what I've seen, what we've picked so far, with maybe a couple of exceptions, have been very good. And I think the last 2 seasons, our signings have been a lot better than what they've been previously when we've approached it a bit like a scattergun, and it's been a bit of a hope they're good. Where I think that the players we've signed, majority of players we've signed, we know they're good players, we hope they show it for us, which is a bit different for what we've done before. So looking back on the season, there's games we should have won, there's games we should have lost. But generally, I think we're unlucky that we're not sitting fourth, maybe even third, the way some games have gone when we've drawn, when we should have won, and performances have been pretty good. But as I think we said at the beginning of this, due to the average age of our team, we're always going to get blips. But I think this season, because of the way it's been explained by the manager and the owner, we're all prepared for that because we're bought into what we're trying to do. So I think that's important.
A great point of view. Jake, the last couple of results have obviously been fantastic. Win away from home at Kirkcaldy, and then the win against Hibs in the Cup. For the rest of the season, do you think this might be a bit of a turning point in terms of a bit of a springboard into the next few months?
I'd like to think so. Obviously, there's no guarantees, but I think just how big and the magnitude of Saturday's win, I think if we can't use this as a sort of springboard, then what are we going to use? Obviously, the Wraith game was now a good few weeks ago. In fact, we're approaching a month. So we never quite got to build on that momentum due to the postponements and whatnot. But yeah, I think there's a very good chance. Obviously, we're away to St Johnstone on Saturday, and then we've 3 home games in a row, including the cup game. So, and I think the final game out of those is against Partick Thistle, who we want to try and catch where they are as well. So, those are the games. If we can do well in these 3 games, then what a run we're then going on, and what happens next. And I think even just like the kind of coverage that we've had in the last sort of week, if we're potentially in for more players, they're going to have seen that and look at it and go, that's an attractive. I want to go and do a bit of that. I want to play in front of those kind of fans. So I'm kind of hopeful that we will make some more adjustments. I think we could do a wee bit more experience in there, but I do think that Saturday's as good a time as ever to kind of build momentum and go for now for the rest of the season. And kind of it's kind of touching on what Colin was saying about the actual season so far. It has been a bit of a roller coaster, as you said, Ricki, but I've actually found it more exciting this season than I have for a number of seasons. This season, you don't know what you're going to get, to be honest, but you're intrigued. You want to go and see what they're doing. And I think that's just more so like the kind of calibre of player that we've brought in. I think the signings this season have totally eclipsed what I was expecting. Like, see guys like Robbie Fraser. Like, Robbie Fraser is brilliant. Like, he's so good. I think we're very fortunate to have someone like that, and there's loads more as well. But yeah, I think we're building something very nice here, and whether we see the real fruits of that this season, I don't know. Obviously, the aim at the moment is top 4. I think we've got a good chance. I think we could do a bit of experience to help us get to there, but I think whether we get that there this season or not, but I think if we don't next season, I think we could be in a real good place.
It's something that you're talking about, sort of the excitement. It's something that Ian Brunskill mentioned when he was on the podcast with Logan and I previously, that there's a way to lose a game. I think the Ross County away game is probably the perfect example, when you're 2-0 down after 5 minutes or whatever it was, and coming back, and yes, ultimately we lost the game, but we showed that fighting desire to get back into it. And in terms of entertainment value, like you say, you might not win every game, but there's probably a way to lose it, and we've shown that kind of real hard fought work, that if you're going to lose it, you're going to go down swinging. And I think we've seen that in probably every game.
I look back at the St Johnstone away game September. Obviously, for the first 15 minutes, they absolutely battered us without scoring a goal. And I wasn't at the game that night, so I was just watching it in the house, and I'm thinking, like, we are backs against the wall here. This is a nightmare. And then we score a brilliant goal, and all of a sudden, like, we're taking the game to there, or we start taking the game down. We score a brilliant goal. They come into it at the start of the second half, but even right up to the death, like, obviously they go 2-1 ahead, but we're fighting right to the very end, and we have 2 great chances later on to equalise, and it just doesn't quite come off, and you kind of go away for those kind of games going, we deserved something for that game tonight. For as good as St Johnstone were at the start of the game, we deserved something from the game. And I think we're kind of all just kind of said something similar, that we've there's been games this season we should have won, or at least there's been games this season that we've maybe lost, and we think you should have got a point out of that. So it's probably a bit of experience helping us out in those kind of places. But give it another 6 months. The guys that are in this team now are going to have a lot more experience as well. So it's exciting. It's going back to, I think a lot of it's to do with Neil Lennon. I think you kind of buy into what he talks well, doesn't he? And he brings you in, and you buy into what he's doing. And I think that he's enthusiastic about it, and it spreads, doesn't it? You feel that enthusiasm, and you're intrigued what we're going to do next. So yeah, I'm loving. I'm as much as it's a bit of a roller coaster. We're not winning all the time. I'm enjoying going and watching them this season. Yeah,
it's a good time to be a Pats fan.
It is a good time to be a Pats fan. I agree.
I think just before we round off, one thing that we kind of forgot to mention about the game on Saturday there, you're talking about signings that we've made in the summer, youngsters or players that have came from abroad. Nuruddin Abdullahi, he was outstanding on Saturday, Colin. He came into the team fairly straight away after signing. Picked up a wee injury, came back into the team, and he's been immense since joining.
I think he could potentially be, as the season goes on, possibly our signing of the season, if not our signing of the last few seasons. He exemplifies calmness, exudes thought when he gets the ball. He doesn't just immediately want to boot it away. There's a skill about him as a defender, obviously a presence. I thought on Saturday, yeah, I'm sure it could be argued it was his best game, but I think every game he's played, he's played extremely well. And for a guy who probably most Dunfermline fans weren't aware of, we're certainly all aware of him now. And he's not just good in the air, he's good with his feet. But it is the fact that for somebody quite young, there's a real calmness about him when he gets the ball. I see him speaking a lot more. I'm not sure if that's maybe just me, but I'm looking at him now and again, and he seems to be pointing about. Maybe at the start when he first came in, maybe it wasn't like that, but now he's definitely got a presence. And I would also think that probably other managers for other championship sides, when they're scouting us to look at their next game, they see they're playing us, he'll be identified as somebody who will get spoken about for what their attackers are going to do to try and beat them. But I think, to be fair, despite the fact we're singling him out for obvious reasons, every defender that's came in this season has been very, very good. And I think a lot of the goals we've lost have been either silly mistakes, which we have seen 3 or 4 times now, bad luck, or exceptional play by our opponents. And that's going to happen in every game. But when you look at it overall, I think we probably got, I know I'm biased, but the best defence in the league. But only time will tell whether that comes to fruition as to how many goals we concede by the end of the season and where we end up sitting. But I certainly think that for my seat in the stand, I think we've got the best defence in the league, and I think we're only going to get better. I think next season, if we keep them all there, it'll be a real tell-in season for us, and I'm quite sure we'll be maybe having a similar conversation, but speaking a lot more about, that's great, this run we're on, it's great, we're sitting second. That's how positive I am about the squad and this manager. Fingers crossed anyway.
I think we did have the best defensive record up to a point. I can't remember when it was. And then we've had a couple of iffy results, probably November, December time, whenever it was. But I think up to a certain point in the season, we had the best defensive record in the league, which is great. And if it wasn't the best, it was sort of second best. It was only by a goal or two. It wasn't much. And then we've had a couple of games where we've kind of fell away a wee bit. But yeah, the defence have been brilliant. And a special mention to Matty Todd as well. Matty he's one of my favourite film players. I think it's because he had such that season in League One, brilliant. Like he's so many different goals he scored from, all different types. But one thing he'll give you is energy. And he's so unfortunate with injuries, really struggled. But you're seeing, I was having a conversation in our group chat just after the Hibs game, probably Sunday, where there was a time probably in the late summer there, where it looked like Matty was going to be leaving the club, whether that be on loan, whether that be permanently. Not getting a sniff and probably looking to go out the door. And now you're thinking that's the player we know that he can be, and he's playing out of position. Do you know what I mean? Right wing back's not his position, but he's doing it so. And I know he's in there because there was obviously an injury to Shea Kearney, but it won't be easy for Shea Kearney to just come back into the team now. Matty's kind of made the jersey his, and he's going to be difficult to shift. So yeah, it's the rest of the defence has been great. As I touched on Robbie Fraser, I think he's a great signing. And Gwenya feels like a new signing, doesn't he? Because he's been out of the picture for such a long time and he's doing so well. And I actually thought Jerry's game on Saturday was probably one of the best he's had. He looked so composed. There's a few times we've seen it in the game against Wraith early in the season where early doors he makes a little mistake and Wraith go and score. But I feel like those little moments, those wee iffy bits are gradually coming out of his game. And Saturday he played like he was the Premier League centre half. Do you know what I mean? He was so calming, and I think I wouldn't be shocked if like Hibs are going, by the way, how good was he? We've seen it over the years, centre halves, we've had different players, we've had Hibs always seem to be interested if they've got good ones. Aye, does it? Yeah. So I think it's because there's not much difference in terms of between the actual grounds, and if you're trying to convince a player to join, it's not too far away. But I'm sure there'd be a lot of clubs, whether that be Scotland, whether that be down south, would have looked at him on Saturday and went, wow, he's only 20, 21, I can't remember how old he is exactly, if he's even that age. He still plays for obviously Scotland 21s, but I think he was so calm. And he likes to go on those runs and stuff. He maybe didn't get quite the opportunity to do that, but yeah, brilliant. Great to see them all performing so well.
Just to round off, Ricki, the mention of Jeremiah Chuluk-Mullen has just reminded me of something. Did you think it was a handball?
Nah, but I'm glad there wasn't VAR. I didn't think it was a handball with the supporting arm, and then when you look at the slow-mo, there's maybe an argument that wasn't actually a supporting arm. He was kind of on his way down. I kind of lose track of what we're classing as a handball these days. But yeah, obviously I don't think it was a penalty. Never a penalty in a million years. But yeah, I was glad the cameras weren't sending the ref to the screen for that one.
Funnily enough, Stephen Craigan thought that. I don't know if you've seen Sports Scene on Saturday night.
I've watched it about 100 times, of course.
Well, see, I watched the full game back, the live coverage back at about 11 o'clock on Saturday night, straight through half time. Now I think I fast forwarded half time, but what I mean. I watched it all back, and then on Sunday, I've then watched the Sports Scene highlights because I'm catching up on the other games as well. Stephen Craigan was like, "Well, it's great that VAR overturned or VAR reviewed it quickly and passed it." I was like, "VAR running there, mate." But yeah, I was panicking a wee bit. Yeah, I was panicking a wee bit when I seen it happen. But again, I think for us, because we don't have VAR, the handball rule was kind of one of those ones where we're probably taking a wee bit less of an interest. Obviously, if it's a hand in the box, we're shouting for it if it's in the opposition's box. But I did panic when I seen it. I felt like I was kind of right in line with it as it happened, and I thought that was a hand. And you can tell with the big Hibs crowd behind the goals, shouting for it. So, yeah, glad there wasn't VAR. But it's from what the pundits seem to be saying that I know that. I think it was James McFadden was talking about it during the commentary, and he says it's the supporting arm, but it wasn't technically the supporting arm at the time because his left arm was down. But if you watch it again, just as the ball hits, his right hand seems to touch the grass. So he's done a quick switch. He knew what was happening. He was aware. Yeah, great play. Yeah, good balance. Yeah.
Perfect. I think we've just about covered everything, guys. Thank you to all three of you for taking your Wednesday nights to chat with us. I think Colin's just disconnected again. I'll just round things off. Thanks for joining us and listening to the Inside Athletic podcast. Me and Ricki will be back soon for another special guest. Thank you, Jake, for joining us, and thank you to Colin as well. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.